Hello everybody. One of the things I really love doing is not only answering questions, which I have a session in my show on that, but I also want to help you by giving you tips in business. Because tips in business, sometimes we don't know what to do in the dynamics of business and how we actually keep ourselves going. And so when we have a tip, like my tip today is all about how you step forward. What does that mean? You know, how are you going to help me, John? And that's what my business tips are all about, is helping you do business better and understanding a simple principle that you can put into practice today. So what am I actually aiming at? I'm actually aiming at you and some of the internal conversations that you actually have with yourself. And I'm actually dealing with asking you to think about your own self-belief and your own self-confidence. I find this on a regular basis that these are two areas of conflict and two areas of limitations that people in business have, and it's all about the internal dialogue. So I was with a client just recently, and she posed a question to me, said, I'd like to do this, but I don't want to do this because, and yet I'd like to do this, and I'd like to do this because. And these were exactly the kind of dynamic that she was struggling with, was her own self-belief and her own self-confidence. So what I said to her was, okay, can we resolve today that you really want to be aspirational in how you go about your next steps in your career and in your career development? She said, yeah, I'm going to resolve that is going to be the conversation that we will engage in. I recognize there is some areas of self-confidence and self-belief that I know that I'm still working on, but I know if I compare the two, my aspirational motivation is stronger, and I want to really resolve what that shape looks like for me going forward, because I know that is what my future looks like. So this is all about us moving into our future and resolving the dynamics of what's going on in our world. And I know that you sometimes lie in bed at night and you dream the dream that you have for your business and for yourself, and it's far bigger than what's going on right now. And you wonder why you're not actually getting there, because there's this internal conflict of self-belief and self-confidence are not resolved to allow you to be free enough to move into the spaces that you are dreaming about that are bigger than how you are right now. I'm not just necessarily saying about bigger profits or bigger buildings or bigger staff, or there is something bigger that you are dreaming, that you have the capacity and the ability, and you have a longing for, and yet you know there's some internal dialogues going on about your self-belief and self-confidence that are limiting you from stepping into that. And this is all about our own resilience inside of us. And all of us wrestle with that kind of, and I know it's the trendy word of the day, the whole conversation about, resilience and business resilience and personal resilience. And, it really is quite interesting to understand the psychologies and the physiologies of our world and how impactful they are on what we allow ourselves to be released into. And we know we all sit with those dreams. So when we have this kind of challenge for us, it actually stops us from stepping forward. And I want to help you step forward. So how do you deal with self-belief and self-confidence? I think part of it is the conversation you say to yourself. And oftentimes people will use a positive mantra. I know one in my world is, I can do all things. And I have a personal faith, and that is through my faith. And I know that there is something dynamic in that. And I say those things about myself, and I regularly speak that. Because I want you to understand this. The speech nerve is the central nerve to your whole nervous system. So when you have these struggles with self-confidence and self-belief, you're actually saying things both internally and externally that are impacting your whole physiology. And I know that when we resolve some of those by our affirmations and by our declarations and by speaking out our vision, mission and purpose of who we are and where we're going, it changes some of the mechanisms of who we are, both mentally, emotionally, psychologically and physiologically. And there is a change that shifts, and I noticed that with my client I was working with, and she said, yeah, I know how to do that now. I know how to step into that now, and I recognize I've still got some work to do, and that's part of the help you're bringing to me, John, but you're also helping me understand the aspirational dynamics of what I know and understand. And so we actually then set a time frame by which she was going to engage in that whole process. And I'm really excited that in about October, November, there will be a cover letter written that will begin to describe her aspirational motivations. So between then and now, she's got a holiday, so that's really cool, but she's going to be thinking about how she addresses presenting herself into an aspirational dynamic so she can apply for the next level in her career development. And I'm really excited about her because she's dealt with self-belief and self-confidence, owning the challenges, but owning how she's going to live in that space. And that's what we do when we have these kinds of conversations. So I'm asking you to think, what is that dream? What's that motivation? What's that aspirational dynamic? What's that growth area that you know you want to own? Recognize your growth areas, but say, right, I will step that, own that, and I'll begin to work on that because I'm not going to let it be a dream about my future. I'm going to bring it into the reality of my present now because I'm going to step forward. And that's the power of you making the decision, and you're making that decision physically. And sometimes what I do, I actually encourage people to walk and make the step. So they physically move. I encourage them to say what it is they're actually going to do. I get them to write it down. So there's a whole bunch of engagements of learning experiences so they own that space. Because when you step forward, knowing you don't have to be the best, you don't have to have everything together, but you're going to own this new space and dynamic and confidence, self-confidence, self-belief, bringing you into a stronger dynamic of resilience. Watch the difference that it actually makes in your world and how you do business. So, step forward so you can do business better. Buddy, I've got a question for you. Would you like to be a guest on the John Hardy Show? I would like that, and it's really easy for you to find a way in which you can let me know you are interested. So please send me an email at john@peakconsultancy.com.au, or really easy, leave a comment below in the comments section and I will get back to you, and I'm looking forward for you to being a guest with me on my show.